Yes, on Keel heard via the Jack Spring Electric Keel Newsmaker Hotline. The latest of those is State Gaming Control Board Chairman Ronnie Jones. Hey, Mr. Ronnie, welcome back to Keel. How you doing this morning?
Morning, folks. I'm fine. How are you guys?
So, were the boats, were the casinos, were they making plans? Were they anticipating positive news from the governor on the day before yesterday? And were they disappointed, or was the governor's announcement 2 more weeks, was that anticipated?
It's really hard to say. I think they're all really anxious to get open, but I can tell you that each property manager is very consistent in their concern for public health, not only for customers, but for their employees. So they did not anticipate reopening May the 1st. I don't think any of them saw that as a realistic, optimistic date. Casinos are not specifically contemplated for reopening in the federal guidelines for phase 1. Nevertheless, the task force that I've been sharing with industry folks is going to be making a recommendation, hopefully by close of business tomorrow, to urge the RLC, Resilient Louisiana Commission, to permit gaming to resume when public health officials and the commission and the governor deem that it's appropriate to do so. So that's a long way of saying they didn't expect to open May the 1st. I think they were all hopeful that perhaps by the middle of May, they could reopen. I think now their thinking has shifted perhaps to the end of May. So it's a fluid situation. I know it's trite to say, but it is a moving target. Data comes in every day, and the situation changes every day. We just have to be nimble and adjust and plan for the reopening when they tell us, it's within 2 weeks.
Okay. June, let's say June 1 is the date.
Okay.
It's not going to be like we've normally gone to the casinos, correct? You've got to have some new guidelines. What is it going to be? As me as a gambler or someone as a worker there, what's changing for everyone?
You're probably going to be greeted at the door and asked to sanitize your hands. You're likely going to have your, in a non-invasive way, your temperature taken. You'll be asked a number of questions that are posted for the CDC guidelines that are actually symptoms of COVID-19. And if you sort of pass all that, you're permitted onto the gaming floor.
Will I have a mask on?
At this point, we don't believe that the industry is going to require. They could do that. I mean, it's their property. They could do it. But I suspect they're going to strongly encourage in their marketing and in signage that customers wear a mask.
Will employees have masks?
Employees.
Absolutely. The guidelines that our task force is going to offer will weigh in on a telemeeting today, but that would require dealers, any of the housekeeping, anyone who's employed, even contract workers coming on the property will be required to wear a mask.
That was going to be my next question. What kind of mandates what sort of standards will be placed upon employees? Masks, anything else? As far as changing out the cards more often, or chips, or anything else that is being touched by, well, let me see, cards not that much by customers, but go ahead, you can tell me.
But, we state police and the Gaming Control Board are going to require that each property file a plan, and that plan will have to address certain core elements. One of those is enhanced disinfectant and cleaning protocols. I had 2 discussions yesterday with the Dean of Tropical Medicine from Tulane, and we talked about the vulnerable points in a casino property. Chips are a concern. Cash, just like the cash you use at the grocery store, those things are a concern. So we're going to call for repetitive cleaning of hands. Some of the properties, you won't be touching cards anymore. We're going to try and reduce, to the extent possible, the transmission of that virus from one person to another.
Gloves for the dealers?
Yeah, because Erin and I were just talking. She said off the air to me while you were answering. She said, will dealers wear gloves? And I said, I have a friend of mine who's a dealer. He says you can't possibly deal cards with gloves on. You tell us.
But, the discussion I had with the doctor and what I've read, gloves really give a false sense of protection. because if you end up with the virus on the glove, you think, well, I'm protected, but you're still transmitting that to someone else. The properties have not indicated whether or not they would either permit or require the use of gloves by some employees. Will likely be part of the new landscape. With respect to dealers, I'm just not sure. They've not weighed in on that with me yet.
Mr. Ronnie, here's a question that I have asked a number of other, both elected officials, state officials, etc. And the question is real basic because it has to have come up in meetings. Somebody has to have asked the following. What's the longest we can go with the quarantine in place, with the lockdown in place? What's the longest we can go and still, meaning the economy, come back? A, do you have thoughts on that? B, I gotta bet that's come up at meetings. And C, what are casino bosses saying to you about that? I.e., Mr. Ronnie, if we're not back open by date X, we're screwed.
The larger companies, Boyd Gaming, Penn National, Caesars, Eldorado, they have enough cash to sustain several months of closures. It's going to be painful, and they may not be able to reopen all the properties in their portfolio, but they have enough cash there. But they need to get back in business, and they've been very patient, I can tell you, at working with the state, working with state police and the Gaming Control Board, and they understand the dilemma that's posed for the governor. They would love to open tomorrow. The fact is, if the governor said, you may open tomorrow, it would take all of them 2 weeks to try and get there. I mean, there are challenges to reopening beyond just the virus and the protocols that are going to be required to suppress transmission of that in casino floor. We don't know if they're going to be able to get the necessary number of employees back. Some employees are going to just sort of wait things out. They're concerned, A, for their own health, and B, some are getting paid unemployment and some enhanced benefits that they'll be making more money not going back to work.
Ronnie, is there a chance one of the local boats in Shreveport-Bossier does not reopen?
I hope that's not the case. I've been in touch with most of them. I think some of the smaller properties are at greater risk than those held by the larger companies. I don't want to predict what's going to happen. I'm not very good at that. But I will say that every week that goes by that gaming has not reopened in the state creates a deepening crisis for the industry.